Hello, hello. Matt Bisogno here again, and I've got some more updates for you today to Geegeez Gold that I want to tell you about. I've touched on a few of them in the recent past. I just want to show you them now they're on live. So let's start with going to the race cards page. The first thing we've done is, as you may recall, recently we introduced some ratings functionality to allow users to rate races with their own ratings. I'll just show you what I mean. If I select a race from earlier in the week, let's go to, doesn't really matter, let's go to this race at Sligo. And over in the top right hand corner there is a show hide ratings, and if you've clicked it to show, then you can add your ratings in here. We're probably going to dispense with the rating 2 boxes. I think a single rating is enough, and it just makes it slightly less cluttered all around the site. So I think we're going to get rid of rating 2. Plenty of people creating a rating, but none so far creating 2, so it's probably overkill. Anyway, one of the problems that we had is that in my ignorance about how to set this stuff up, we hadn't accounted for weight for age. Now, if you can see this crumpled up bit of paper here, this is the revised flat weight for age scale, and there's also a National Hunt scale, one for chases and one for hurdles. Weight for age is the amount of weight a younger horse gets from an older horse to theoretically equalize the maturity scale. And it's a global scale, I believe. There's one for the northern hemisphere and one for the southern hemisphere. Anyway, when we started out, we hadn't incorporated that, and we now have. If you had ratings in our database already, we have run a script against those to update them to account for weight for age. So they are now as they should be, with weight for age accounted for. So, and going forwards, of course, any ratings that you add will now, of course this is a 3-year-old only race, so weight for age doesn't apply, but any ratings you have going forwards will now automatically apply the weight for age component. Now, if that's not what you want, then from the profile tab under your My Notes and Ratings section, you'll see that we have these 2 tick boxes here. Now, unless you explicitly don't want to factor in weight for age or jockey allowances, then I strongly encourage you to leave these unchecked, and your ratings will be as they should be. So those really are there for people who want to be a little bit non-standard, I suppose. The standard practice would always be to leave them unchecked and to crack on as normal. So that's ratings. Everything else is as it was, and I'm glad that it's only been a week and a half, couple of weeks since we put the rating stuff live, and we're still sort of finding our feet with it a little bit. But we are now in a place that we want to be with it, and I think for those that want to create their own figures, they've got everything that they need. Now, there is another group of people who actually don't want to rate results historically, but rather they prefer to rate a race on the day, sort of on the fly. And we have created a facility for users to do that. So you'll notice this MR icon here. Now, behind that, and if you want to rate a whole race, then you can click the MR icon in the menu bar. So if I click that, it opens up some boxes, as you can see. There's a box for your notes. I just write my notes. And there's a box for a rating. I'll just copy the top speed rating for want of anything else. And then there's an opportunity to put your odds in there as well. So in this case, let's say I'm going to make him a 5-to-1 shot. Now, what's happened there, when I've put my odds in, it does some calculation. So it says 5 to 1 in decimal is 16.67%, and there's a total calculation here, and what this does is it sums up all of the my odds boxes that you enter excuse me, and it will ultimately it will tell you what percentage your odds amount to. So if I let's just copy the best book prices into these. Oops. And you'll see if I do that, it tells me that I've made a mistake. Let's just do that. 4 to 1, 2 to 1, 7 to 2, and 18 to 1. Okay, and so you can see that each individual odds is calculated as a percentage of the book, and then you can see that the total is the same for all runners. So the best book of the bookmakers that we have on our odds tab here, which I've just punched into these boxes here, that works out at 108.44%, which is not too bad. It's about 1.5% a runner, which is reasonable, I suppose. Anyway, when you're starting out pricing up, you probably want to price up to a higher number, to maybe 2.5% a runner, and that gives you that factors in a little bit of latitude in case your pricing ability is not so good when you're starting out. In the coming days and weeks, I would do a bit more content about how to create your own tissue prices, but for now I just want to showcase this functionality and show you where it lives. And one other thing to say is that when you leave a box and go into another one, it automatically saves everything you've done. So if I now go to I hope this works if I now go to another race another day and then return to the race that I was looking at, was it this one? Yes. So if I open up the boxes again, you'll see that the data has been saved. And so in the future, these ratings won't save in the same way that they do on the results page. This is a different rating function, if you like. It's an on the fly, on the day rating. But if you were looking at, for instance, Oasis Fantasy in the future, you could click on one of his results from here, and you'd be able to go to the card tab and open up the My Ratings on there, and you could see what you said about him that day. So that data would be populated. If we were looking at Oasis Fantasy's next race, that data would be populated for his last race, if you see what I mean. So that's a neat little feature in the card now, and you can turn that off and on from the profile page, as with lots of other things there. In order to make space for that, the eagle-eyed amongst you will notice that the tip icon has now disappeared from the card. We're in danger of clutter here, and of course users do have an option to remove some of these. Usually I have head-to-head and the X removed because I don't typically use them. I do sometimes use head-to-head, and if I refresh, if I just go to another race there, just need to refresh that, you'll see that I've got a little less clutter on my race card now. Sorry, my computer's running a bit slow today, but you can see I've lost the X there and I've lost the H2H. So it's just a smaller range of icons, and you can reduce this range still further if you're not using MR and BT as an example. In fact, we haven't put MR in here. We'll do that this afternoon, but I'll take the BT out of there, and I'll keep everything else. And I can just make it a little bit more tidier for me. Again, So that is that. As you can see, again, I've truncated them a little bit more there. Now, the other thing that we've done, oh yeah, while I'm here, we've also included in the inline form now a space for your ratings. And again, we're going to make this just R1. But before today, you could only get your private ratings from the full form tab or the result from a previous race. But obviously, one of the places that people look at the form most often is right in the race card. So it makes absolute sense for that number to be published there. And it will be as of now. So that's helpful. Pace tab. Now, historically on Pace, we have set things up like this, where you've got the average, the pace map is calculated based on the average of the last 4 runs for a race. So if I just put that on the data view, you can see that in the case of, let's say, it's not a good example race actually, I'm just going to choose another race to try and find some differentiation. Typical. Yeah, okay, so this is a bit more interesting. So if we look at the averages in this race, we can see that Exceedingly Diva, who doesn't really have a pronounced run style, but tends to hang back a bit more. The horse's average is skewed a little bit by this third last run where she led after a furlong. So if we look at the graphic representation of that, she is here, and you can see she's in this sort of mid-division box. If we change the average to look only at the last 2 runs, you can see that it makes, she drops back to her, I guess what you'd call her standard running style, which is held up a little bit further back. Now, of course, one of the things that you can do with this is you can flit from 2 to 3 to 4, and it will give you a feel of whether there's any or much difference. And as you can see, generally with these, there's not too much difference between them. But sometimes you'll have a horse that their last 2 runs, for instance, they've led, and the 2 before that they were held up. So that would give them 2 4s and 2 1s, which is an average of 10. Sorry, a total of 10, and an average of 2.5 for their 4 runs. But on their last 2 runs where they led, they'd have an average of 4. And it's just about giving a bit more flexibility in terms of how you want to review the pace. And it's certainly something that I'm looking forward to using. I think it will be quite valuable. As an example, just to compare the 4-run pace shape with the 2-run, the last 2 runs pace shape. And again, I would do some more on this going forwards, but I wanted to showcase the new feature and where it lives. So it's just obviously in this bar here, yeah, and that's live now. I don't think there's anything else that I need to tell you about at this stage. No, that looks about the size of it. So that's it for this new upgrade. Things for different people. Not everybody will want to rate a race within the card, but those that do, they can do that now, and obviously with the book percentage as well, that's quite helpful. I think the pace flexibility is a really good thing. Certainly enables you to see whether the longer term, the larger data set maps against the more recent data set, so that's good. And if you are a ratings kind of a guy or gal, being able to see your ratings right in the card there is obviously a time saver as well. So that's it for this update. We've got lots more exciting stuff to come in the next few months. I'm really, I think we're going to really move the bar a little bit as we move towards the second half of 2019, and I can't wait to share that with you in due course. But this is it for today. I hope you like that. If you've got any questions, by all means leave a comment below, and as always, thank you very much for watching, and bye for now.